Most of us think that communication starts with us talking. That is an outside, an external way of communicating. Everything is in communion because everything is in relationship. But communication starts from the fact of I am and I know that I am. The process of self-talk is where communication starts from. There is only one, but that one is talking to self, is introspective point of view. So from there, that's where all communication starts from. Everything starts from the thinking. When you're thinking, you think as two, you don't think as one. But when those two come in agreement, because they've communicated, they come in agreement, whatever they agree upon, those two comes into form, takes shape. So that's the structural part of communication, is the duality nature, which is one that is self-reflective, communes within itself through thought and through emotion and words that directs the emotion. Things take form. So communication, that's the beginning of communication. In terms of creativity, communication or communion looks like harmony. It looks like different parts that come together to create one thing. Different instruments, different orchestras, whatever, they come together to create one product. For a business person, someone who is creating a car, right? That's creativity, by the way. It's a creative mind that brings out a car, right? Someone who is thinking there's a problem, we need something to move us from point A to point B faster, better, whatever, or a plane. It starts from the head, starts from the imagination, right? And then they have that emotion, oh wow, it's gonna do, and then we're gonna make money, and then he goes find money, and then he talks about it, he gets different parts to create one thing, one experience of transportation, So it's the same in music. We have 15 singers, 4 musicians, 7 musicians, one sound person, another lights, another one, different things. And they come together, they commune to bring literally one experience. Communication is in between the relationship and information, is what combines both. It's the bridge between the spirit and the body. It's the soul. It's the mediator. It's where information is exchanged, transformed, conformed, reformed, and that creates relation. These things are not separated, they are interconnected, they are the same thing. It's just because our brain cannot, we try to understand things and then we have to divide them so that we can understand them, but it's an interconnected thing. Relationship, communication, and information is not 3 things. It's one thing that is talking to itself and forming after its own likeness. So the way we see it from an individual level, this is the best way to see it. You have an imagination. You have in your mind, you have imagination, the field of imagination. Within the field of imagination, it's unlimited. You can imagine whatever you want to imagine. You can imagine eternity. It's doable. Within the imagination, you can imagine death. You can imagine unicorns, you can imagine pink elephants, you can imagine whatever you want to imagine. That's the fantasy world. But that's where you create from. That's the potential world where everything can take shape, right? But for it to take shape, right? That's the potential world. For it to, it's the chaotic one, right? There's chaos and order. So when you want to put things in order, things to material, you have to commune, you have to communicate, you have to start putting things together. You have to find the other bridge. The communication is the bridge. So thought in an individual is where the communication starts from. You talk to yourself. I want to be this in my life. I want to be that. Or when I grow up, or where did God come from? Oh, why did, you're asking yourself. That duality within is communicating. And it's creating a condition. Form is forming. So when there's that communion, there's an emotion, and emotion is the energy that is going to power that creation. Without an emotion, there's nothing that can be created. And then the emotion is also helped by a word. A word is what directs the emotion to what it's supposed to build, to happen. If you don't have energy, you won't even wake up. That's why you can have depression. You're having depression because you are low of energy. You ain't got no energy. Your dopamine and your neuroepinephrine, they are not working well. So you are boom. So when you have emotion with the thought, from the imagination, you want to be something, you are thinking of how to be that, you strategize, you need an emotion, energy to bring that thing to life, but it's directed by the word. The word is like the director. You're going to vibrate that thing into life, right? And then it becomes action. You act on it. You behave like that. You start behaving as you think you are. And then that manifests as form. It takes form, it takes shape. All these things, that's where they come from. You imagine it and you think about it. Okay, what is he gonna do? Who do I want to sell it to? And then right away you feel an emotion. Bro, I'm gonna get $1 million, bro. I'm gonna get $1 million. That emotion is the power that powers you to make it happen. But the word that you say when you're selling it to someone, the narrative telling them, this is why I did this, is what makes them buy it. You're directing it, right? And then you act with confidence, So from there, that's from an individual level. On an individual level, that's how things come to happen. But they are connected now. When you meet another person, you have to communicate with them. I don't know you until I communicate with you. There's no way we are creating any relationship without communication. So the communication between me and you is what sets up the relationship. And within that communication, remember, we have information. We are talking about something. We have to speak the same language, or else we need a translator. But the communication, the words have to be reciprocal. The other self-reflective within the individual, now it's being played outside between one person and another. And when that person is a feminine and you're trying to get them in bed, you're trying to be intimate with them, then you create a family. So there's communication you've now produced. You have forms of yourself, other forms of your likeness. One looks like the mother, another looks like the father, and other ancestors behind, because you have formed something out of that relationship. But that relationship was not going to happen if there was no communication, verbal communication, attraction. It clicks from within your imagination. This is exactly what I wanted to see, because you've already set it up as an individual. So you see it outside of you because it has come to reality, because you said it, you felt it. I love these kind of girls. And those kind of girls, you're gonna see them in your reality, like literally in your reality. And when you see that kind of a girl, I'm saying this in terms of feminine and masculine, which is actually the same as self and the self-reflective nature. So once you meet that and you communicate, when guys it happens to guys a lot when you're trying to date someone, when you're trying to tell them and you mess up your words, yeah, she gonna leave you. So in order to have that relationship, there has to be an attractiveness, of course, because you had that in your image, in your imagination, and you've thought about it. You've created that in your reality, but also you have to convince her. Probably if she has the same thing in her mind, if she didn't have it, then you have to convince her. You come into relationship. That relationship is a result of communication, mental communication, but also physical communion, which is intimacy. That physical intimacy creates literally another form and other forms that are from your likeness. From the individual is the same that goes within relationship of the other duality of feminine and masculine, and then you create a family. Once you've created more families create more communities. And when communities now come together and they have same belief system, same understanding, same language, same culture, because they are growing in the same neighborhood. Probably they're close to a lake. They go fish. They go do whatever. They hunt. They are doing the same activities. That is communion. That is communication. And that communication builds a culture. That culture builds an identity, which is the relationship again. And the more communities they build, they conquer land. They call it a nation, a country. This is our kingdom, a nation, whatever. It's territorial. Now that community is no longer about culture and whatever. No, it's actually territory. And they're gonna fight for more territory, and it has formed into something, and then it's an animalistic thing. This is what animals do. This is what we all do. It's natural. So nations, regions, global communities, that's how we function. It's a natural way of functioning. So it comes from self communion that really, really creates literally everything. So that communication is not just talking, it's not just, no, it's like literally the process of becoming.